So I'm going to make some traditional Bolognese sauce today. Now that's Bolognese comes from town of Bologna in Italy, and I believe the expression is Ragu alla Bolognese. Ragu is a meat sauce. Bolognese is the French change of the name Bologna when Napoleon was up there fighting all the wars up there. Now Bolognese stuck, so that's what I'm going to call it. So what we're going to do, we're going to fry off half a kilo of minced beef first in some good olive oil. Now what we want to do is just brown the meat. We do not want any lumps in this, we just want to break it up, individual lumps, the individual strands of meat. We get some colour on the meat, and then we'll transfer this to a saucepan, because Bolognese sauce traditionally needs a long cooking. You want to break down everything into a really fine, thick sauce. And the longer you cook things in the wine and tomatoes, which we're going to add later, the better. Now I'm going to break her all. I'm not going to season this until towards the end. The reason being, if you season things too heavily now at the start, when things are unreduced, shall we say, then what will happen is the seasoning will concentrate and won't evaporate like the water or the wine or the stock would. So when you come to season a Bolognese, season it towards the end. Now our beef has been on for a couple of minutes, fine away, and it's fairly well broken down, so I like that consistency. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to transfer this to a heavy bottom saucepan and then fry off another half a kilo of minced pork. Italians sometimes do a mixture of pork, beef and veal. I'm not going to do the veal, I'm just going to do the pork, because it actually add a different sort of flavour to this. So, a little splash more olive oil. Let that heat up. Break this down. Now the reason I'm not using veal here, along with my beef and pork, is because some people are a little bit squeamish about veal. Now the reason I'm not using veal is because veal, some people have an aversion to veal because veal is a very young male bull, and unfortunately in the farming world, farmers don't want to keep a lot of male bull testosterone on their farm to breed with their cows. So what they do, they kill them quite young. Now abroad, in places like Italy and I believe Holland does it quite young too, and we're talking days. So the cow, the bull, young bull, does not have time to actually see a field, let alone run around and prance in it and eat some grass. They're killed almost instantly, and that's called milk veal, because the bull has actually not been suckled from its mother yet. It's not actually stopped milking from its mother. So what they do, they kill it instantly and make lovely tender milk veal cutlets, chops, that sort of thing. In the UK, however, the UK has a law where the farmers need to give a quality of life to their animals. So when you see a UK English veal, that veal has actually been running around the field for 9 months before it's slaughtered to make veal. That's the difference between the continent and the UK. Now, I love veal chops, but you know, you've got to get them and feel responsible from where they're coming from. And if you want your animals to have a bit of quality of life, then go for the UK version, because at least they've been out in the sunshine. So the mince is now nicely browned off. I'm going to transfer this into the same saucepan as the pork mince. So we let the heat come up on the pan. We've added some olive oil to the mixture. Now what we're going to do now is the traditional Ragu Bolognese is made with celery, onion, carrots and a clove of garlic. So that's my celery, 2 sticks of celery, 2 sticks of carrot, and 2 onions, 1 clove of garlic. Now I've turned the oven down, the hob down on this. I just want to colour the onions very slightly, and just make sure that the carrots and celery is soft, and then we can add that to our pot, and then we'll add the tomatoes and the wine. Now our carrot, celery and onion and our clove of garlic have softened nicely here. There's no colour on them, which is what I want. I've kept them on a low heat, and I'm going to transfer these into my saucepan with the other meats now. Now I've got my pan still on the hob, and I'm just going to deglaze my pan with some chopped tomatoes, a tin of chopped tomatoes. That's a 400 gram can of tomatoes. So just mix that around. Get rid of all the bits into the pan. So one last job we have to do is decent red wine, stuff you want to drink, not clean your drains with. Put a couple of glasses in the pan just to deglaze the saucepan or the frying pan you use. Let that heat up. Rub away any of the sticky bits on the side of the pan. All of that sticky bit on the side of the pan is flavour, and you want to add this into your sauce. Now that should be good enough. Into our saucepan. Give your ragu mix a stir. Bring this to a simmer, and then we're going to leave this for about an hour. We're going to come back, check the seasoning on it, which is where we're going to add salt and pepper. And then what we're going to do is leave that to simmer for another 2 hours. This is an easy dish, it's very long and slow cooking. There we go. Tomatoes and our wine are coming to a heat now. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a splash of passata that I have left to hand. There we go. Add another stir. Passata is an intense tomato. It's been reduced already, and it's quite a thick sauce. I've used some tomatoes, chopped plum tomatoes, in a tin for a chunkier tomato look to my ragu. Now that is now coming to the boil, so I'm going to stick a lid on this and leave it for a little while. Now my ragu has been bubbling away for the last hour, maybe an hour and a half now, and the consistency is a meaty sauce. Now because you've used tomatoes, the tomatoes can be quite acidic, so you really want to counter that with something. So what I'm going to do, per the official Chamber of Commerce guide for Bologna, for the recipe of Bolognese sauce, you add a splash of milk. Now the splash of milk should be enough. Takes the acidity away from the tomatoes. Now you could, I suppose, add a little splash of cream, but that would make this too rich, and I'm going to be serving this with tagliatelle as opposed to spaghetti. Again, the official guide per the Chamber of Commerce of Bologna, where this stuff originally comes from, is to actually serve this either as a sauce for lasagna or with tagliatelle. Never ever with spaghetti. So I'm quite perplexed as to why the English and the Americans decide to serve ragu alla bolognese with spaghetti. Now I'm going to let this simmer with the lid off for another hour, on gentle simmer, and I've got a tin of water just in case the sauce thickens too much, and I can let it down with a couple of spoonfuls of water. But this is looking exceptionally good, and we'll be looking at serving this with some pasta soon. So this is my beautiful ragu mix, my bolognese sauce. So that's 500 grams of beef mince, 500 grams of pork mince. You can use veal mince if you can get it. 2 onions, 2 carrots, 2 sticks of celery, 1 clove of garlic. We fried off the meat. We coloured the vegetables, put them in with the meat. We added a tin of tomatoes, 400 gram tin of tomatoes, and we added about 200 millilitres of passata sauce, some salt and pepper to taste, and then we let this go on the simmer for the best part of 3 hours. And this is what it looks like now. Towards the end of the cooking, I added in about 200 millilitres of milk and checked the seasoning again, salt and pepper. Everything tastes wonderful, right? You would not believe those ingredients there, without any herbs or any spices or anything, would produce such a fantastic sauce. You need to make this, and I've made a massive batch so I can freeze some and use it in the freezer when I come home late from work. You need to make this. This is fantastic. I've had some linguine boiling away in some salted hot water for the last 8-9 minutes, so it's al dente. I'm going to decant that, but first what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a ladle of the spoon of the pasta water into my sauce. A little bit more. Now what that does, that lets down the sauce, but it also is starchy water now. So what it means is that it will actually allow the sauce to stick to the pasta better than it would have done if you hadn't had the water in there. So I've not put any olive oil or anything like that into my pasta. It's just naturally flavoured from the salt of the water that I added when I was cooking the pasta. Now all Italians take their pasta to their sauce, not the other way around. Let's get some tongs. And all you do is toss your bolognese in with your pasta. You're trying to get the pasta coated with the meat. And all we're going to do now is just serve that up on a plate. What you must never do is actually cut your pasta. It's supposed to be unlucky. This also applies for noodles and things like that if you're Asian. So here's our pasta, just grate over the top, some black pepper, grate on some parmesan, and a very fine drizzle of olive oil. Extra virgin this time, because you're decorating the surface. You're not cooking with the oil. Pasta alla Bolognese. Hope you enjoy and make the recipe.